Hi, and welcome to another Retire Happy presentation. This is Ted Carr saying thanks for joining me. Our topic today is timeshares. Are they worth it? But before we start, I want to take a moment to mention one of my other projects, the Retire Happy podcast. Me and my co-host Roy Weinberg promise to raise not only your retirement IQ, but also your craft beer IQ, and have some fun along the way. You can listen to episodes and subscribe from the Retire Happy homepage. Okay, let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. We'll open up with some background about timeshares and about how I got interested in this topic. I'll go over a survey that I decided to conduct to get more information from people who have timeshare experience. And of course, I'll share the results of the survey with you. And then we'll take a look at, well, what are the main reasons why people end up buying timeshares? And then we'll answer the question for today, are they worth it? Before we move on and wrap up. So I became interested in timeshares after we stayed at one in October, asked the guests of friends who we dogs it for. The front desk and the concierge tried very hard to get us to attend their sales presentation. And with good reason, because roughly 15% who attend end up buying. Now let's briefly review what timeshares are. A timeshare gives the buyer the right to use the property for a designated length of time, usually 1 or 2 weeks per year. Title remains with the property owner. Now, I'm not going to talk about another type of timeshare called fractional ownership. That's out of the scope of our presentation. Now, timeshares, also known as vacation resorts, are still big business. Between 2000 and 2015, timeshare sales peaked in 2007 at $10.6 billion. In 2015, sales were down to $8.6 billion. The median age is roughly 51, but the trend of late is for younger buyers, age 39, with half of them having kids under 18. The average purchase price is somewhere between $16,000 and $20,000. And as I said, curious to learn more, I created a survey to gather more information. So my survey was short, only 8 questions, and it's focused on people who have attended a timeshare sales presentation. I sent it out to my audience, and I also invited Fritz Gilbert of the Retirement Manifesto and Kathy Klein of Rock Your Retirement to send it to their audience as well, which I did, and I really appreciate it. The objectives of the survey are to learn about timeshare sales tactics, how often people purchase or don't, and why, gain insight into timeshare ownership, and then share that information with you. So question 1, have you ever attended or been invited to attend a timeshare presentation? 94% roughly said yes, I've attended. 5% said I've been invited but have not attended. And in that case, I asked them to answer only question 2 and then they're done. Or no, 1%. In that case, no need to answer any more questions. And that's how I directed people throughout the survey process, is through these parenthetical comments. Question 2, how do you rate your knowledge of timeshares prior to your opportunity to attend a presentation? About 14% said knowledgeable. 62% said somewhat knowledgeable. Not knowledgeable, 24%, roughly 1/4 of all people who attend the presentation were not knowledgeable. So I want to know, well, what factored into your decision to attend the presentation? 90%, it was a promise of a free gift, a free stay, a gift card, stuff like that. In our case, we were offered a 7-night stay at a vacation resort. That was their lure to try to get us just to attend the presentation. A limited space, sign up now. That was a hard sales tactic they applied to us, but apparently that's not as common as I thought it was. The presentation would be short, 20%. We were told that'd be about 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes. Felt obligated, I can understand that. They wanted to attend regardless. They were just determined to attend. And other responses. And these were along the lines of offer of discounts on activities such as dinner cruises, snorkeling, helicopter rides. Curious, how did it work? Or they attended because they were invited by friends. Question 4, did you feel pressured or intimidated during the presentation? 2/3 of folks said yes. Only 1/3 said no. And when it comes to question 4 comments, this is a pretty typical one that I saw. We were there for 2 hours and they applied pressure the whole time. They finally gave up and ended the presentation. We were exhausted from the constant pressure. Question 5. Did you purchase a timeshare? 37% said yes. 63% said no. That's quite a high success rate in this survey pool, which is not typical, I think, of the industry, which I'll get to in a couple of minutes. So I had some comments here on question 5, and overall 40% of the comments were positive, 45% I'd call negative, and 5% were neutral. They tended to sound like this: interested in forcing ourselves to vacation, or too expensive, too long of a commitment. Number 6, if you made a purchase, what happened? I still own it, 77%. I no longer own it, 13%. Or 10% canceled within the allotted cancellation period, which, by the way, varies from state to state. Now, some of the comments on question 6 sound like this: I have owned my timeshare for 16 years and love it. We have used it over 100 times since we purchased it. That's a commitment. I owned it for 10 years, just sold it for pennies compared to the cost. I gave it back after 20 plus years. Yearly fees kept going up. Places to trade became more difficult. And here are the final 2 questions of the survey. How long have you owned it or did own it in years? And you can see from the answers, a whopping 2/3 have owned it for more than 10 years. And question 8, the final question: how satisfied are you with your overall timeshare experience? So 37% were either very satisfied or satisfied, 27% were neutral, and then roughly 36% were either not satisfied or very unhappy. And of course, I received some comments on question 8 as well. Satisfied, but if I could do it over, I would not buy. You need some push to take a vacation. It is not the worst deal. I am becoming less satisfied. Established fees increase every year. In addition, there are fees for any changes or if you want to trade. Crunching the numbers, I believe we have more than gotten what we put in. Confirmed that this would be a poor use of my finances. So here's my take on the reasons why people buy. First, they are vulnerable to high-pressure sales tactics. High-pressure sales tactics work. So picture yourself in a beautiful hotel, resort, in a beautiful location. You're living the dream. Who isn't tempted to daydream and say, I can buy a piece of the dream? And then you're approached by people who pound that message home and tempt you in all sorts of ways. So I think you're in a place, in an environment where there are pros who are expert at applying pressure. People end up buying because they are vulnerable in that location, in that setting. Number 2, it fits their lifestyle. Some people like the fact that they know what they're going to get, and they know they're going to get the same experience, basically. They're going to have the same time of year. It's just that from their lifestyle, it's one less thing that they have to maybe plan for, worry about, decide upon. It's a routine, I think, and that's what I mean by it fits their lifestyle. And as you saw from some of the comments, a common refrain is it forces them to take a vacation. Now, I want to share some research with you that was conducted by Dr. Amy Gregory of the University of Central Florida. She says 95% of all buyers contact their resort sales team to get more information about fees, resale, and financing options. 85% of all buyers regret their purchase because of their personal financial situation, confusion, and intimidation. And 15% choose to cancel their purchase contract within the legal cancellation window. Now, there's an industry association called the American Resort Developers Association, and here's what they have to say about Dr. Gregory's research. Quote, her information reaffirms our belief that timeshare sales presentations, while effective at securing closings, do not provide all of the information that a consumer really needs to make a confident, educated purchasing decision. Her research singles out many of the same factors that our clients have come to us complaining about, including daunting maintenance fees and the anemic nature of the secondary market. And on to the question of the presentation. Are they worth it? In my world, in my take, my opinion, in one word, no, they are not. Those are 3 words. No. Let's examine it a little further. Number 1, they are not investments. They do not appreciate in value. It's like a car. They depreciate in value. Really, what you're buying is the prepayment of future vacations. And that ties into the second reason why I don't think they're worth it. Opportunity costs. If you're going to spend, say, $16,000, you could take that $16,000, invest it at, say, the average market return, which is, say 8%, for 10 years. That $16,000 is worth $34,542. And number 3, there isn't a robust resale market. And even worse, there are many people who get scammed because people are desperate to unload their timeshares. Number 4, why commit to annual fees over which you have no control? And number 5, why give up flexibility? Not all places are the same. The room we just stayed in was adjacent to 4 sets of railroad tracks that operated 24/7. Now, that was really annoying, but it was just an example of the fact that not all resorts are created equal. And then the other thing is, maybe I don't want to take a vacation this year. I can't take a vacation this year. Or I want to do something and there's no vacation resort available in that location. I put a value on flexibility and having that aspect of control. Okay, time to wrap up. Here are my final thoughts. The timeshare business is very competitive. There's a lot of competition from Airbnb, VRBO, and others. So these vacation resorts, the business has to resort to hard sales tactics because of the competition and because they work. Now, I'm not a fan of timeshares. I said, no, they're not worth it. Now, there's one caveat, one possible exception, and that would be, let's say you're a young family and you are going to take your kids to Disneyland or Disney World for the next 15 years. Well, maybe in that case, it might make sense to prepay for a timeshare in that very, very specific kind of a situation. Now, do your research, including knowing the right of cancellation, which varies by state. So know what you're getting into. You can see a lot of people who are not knowledgeable, only somewhat knowledgeable. If you're going to do something that's this significant of a decision that has long-lasting repercussions, it's really important to know what you're getting into, what your risks are, what your options are. And speaking of options, personally, I think there's so many vacation options. I can't imagine locking myself into just one way of vacationing. And FYI, I've written up some other type of things on the subject of timeshares. I've written an article called Timeshares Are Hard Sells, and I posted the survey results as well. And both of them are available at retirehappy.com. So thanks a lot for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And feel free to share it with family, friends, and colleagues via email and social media. Until next time, this is Ed Carr saying thanks a lot and all the best.